Barbara, good evening.
Good evening. I think it's going to be a very exciting night. You will be moved, I think. You will be entertained. You will be touched. Most of all, I think we're all going to feel very, very proud.
Here tonight on Ellis Island, as you can see, the speeches are just about to begin, and with the actual swearing-in ceremony just about an hour away, there's a tremendous feeling of anticipation here. As Peter said earlier, what's actually happening is that Ellis Island tonight becomes a federal court so that these immigrants can become full-fledged Americans.
There is that picture there, Barbara, of that man sitting holding the Statue of Liberty in his lap. I don't think there could be anything more dignified than that.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Yakov Smirnoff.
Thank you so much. It's great to be an American. I've been here 20 years and I'm still fascinated with this country, that only in America a little misunderstanding in the White House can create such a big scandal. Obviously, Monica Lewinsky misunderstood when the president asked her to debrief him. I bet you never looked at it that way. And no matter how big the scandal gets in the White House, the president's ratings are still climbing. They're at 67% approval rating. I don't know where they take those polls. Probably Hooters restaurant. They just questioned women around Washington and asked them who would want to have an affair with the president. And 82% of them said, never again. And to detract the attention from the Monica Lewinsky scandal, the president goes where? To Russia. There's a brilliant move right there, huh? Yeltsin's career is in the same shape as Clinton's career. They shouldn't have called it a summit, they should have called it a ditch. The both presidents embraced in a hug, and Yeltsin whispered something into Clinton's ear, and nobody knows what he said. Now, I speak Russian, so I could read his lips. He asked for Monica's phone number. And Hillary goes to Russia, and she gets a national television there. You might have seen it at CNN. And she gives advice to Russian women how to have successful marriage. She told them that they have a dog in the White House, Buddy, and they just neutered him. She felt sorry she didn't go with a family plan. She missed a 2-for-1 deal. You see, when 20 years ago I came to America, I didn't have that many possessions, but I possessed the power of perception. And this is how I could see things about this society that Americans don't even give a second glance. If you were to go to Russia, you would see things that I couldn't see there, because I grew up there. It was normal for me. I would stand in line for food 3.5 hours just to buy a tiny piece of meat and some stale buns. And here in America, I walked into a fast food place, and right away I got the same thing. I bet you never looked at it that way, huh? You wouldn't, because it became normal to you. You see, things that surround us on a daily basis, we don't notice. I mean, we don't notice our health until we lose it. We don't notice freedom until we lose it. We don't notice our remote control. Well, that's a total disaster there. But if think about this, we breathe every moment of the day and we don't notice it. Try not to breathe for 2-3 minutes. Don't do it now. I'm just thinking that things that we normally do become very normal, and we don't pay attention to that until something changes. For me, major thing changed when I came to America, so I noticed everything. Being an American airliner was incredible. I mean, they're so luxurious. They were showing a movie on the airplane, and something was funny in the movie. I started laughing. My laughter is a little different than American people laugh. Like in Russia, we were not allowed to laugh out, so we would laugh in. And it sounded real obnoxious, like, So I started laughing, and the oxygen mask came down. In Kennedy Airport, I wanted to go to a restaurant, and the waitress says to me, I recommend breakfast special. It's steak and eggs. I said, fine. She said, how do you like your steak? I said, you didn't even bring it yet. I bet you never looked at it that way. She said, how do you want it cooked? I said, oh, very crispy on the inside, very soft on the outside. She said, well, I guess there's more than one way to skin a cat. I said, I'll have tuna fish sandwich. Then she said to me, you want buffalo wings? I bet you never looked at it that way, huh? I'm thinking, no wonder buffaloes don't fly. And then I finished eating. She says, dessert? I said, no, I had a permission to leave. First time I went to a Chinese place, the guy who invited me there played practical joke on me. There was hot Chinese mustard on the table. He took a spoon of that mustard and ate it right in front of me. And tears are coming out of his eyes. I said, why are you crying? He said, I just remember when I was a little, friend of mine and I went swimming in the river and he drowned. And he insists that I take a bite of that mustard, which I did. Now tears are coming out of my eyes. My head is sweating. I look like Jimmy Swaggart at the confession. He said, why are you crying? I said, I feel badly that he drowned instead of you. First time I went to a fast food place, in the bathroom, there's a sign that says, baby changing station. So I'm thinking, if you don't like your baby, you get a new one right here. I bet you never looked at it that way. And you get French fries to go with that. My first job in America, I decided to be a waiter. I applied for a job, and the manager of this restaurant said, you want some coffee? I said, thank you very much. I don't drink coffee. Do you have any water? He said, oh yeah, plenty of water. I have water coming out of my ears. I said, I'll have coffee. He gave me a job. I was serving breakfast next morning. My first customer was a big guy. He looked like a truck driver. And he said to me, give me a couple of flat tires, a couple of headlights. I'm thinking, no wonder this guy's so big. I said, you want buffalo wings to go with it? I go in the kitchen, I tell it to the cook, he starts laughing. He said, no, he's just playing with you. What he wants is 2 pancakes and 2 eggs, sunny side up. I did not appreciate this customer confusing me any more than I was already confused. So I served him a bowl of beans. He said, I didn't order that. I said, I know, but I figured while you're waiting for your parts, you should gas up. He didn't look at it that way. So next morning I was looking for a job again, and then I got a job as a bartender, and one customer came in and he was not in a good mood, and he said to me, give me a very, very, very dry martini. So I gave him an empty glass with an olive. That's as dry as they come. He said, you're new here, aren't you? Give me a screwdriver. Boy, he was mad. He said, don't you know anything? Screwdriver is the simplest drink in the world. It's vodka and orange juice. Go make it, don't you ever forget. I felt bad that he yelled at me, so I made him my own drink, which was vodka, orange juice, and milk of magnesia. I called it Phillips screwdriver. I don't think he'll ever forget it. So now I had a job and I got an apartment. My neighbor next door seems to be very nice. He said, listen, I just want to warn you, we live in a rough neighborhood, so you should keep your eyes peeled. I said, I'd rather be mugged. He said, just in case, you should know we have a neighborhood watch. I said, what does that mean? He said, if you get mugged, the whole neighborhood will watch. And then he told me he does not use deodorant. No matter what I ask him, he would say, no sweat. One time he invites me to play basketball with him. I haven't played this game in years, so I got really sore. And I told him that I'm sore, and he patted me on the rear. And he said, have you considered being gay? I bet he never looked at it that way. I said, I'm not that sore. I can play another game. No sweat. Then I told him, I said, I'd like to meet an American woman. He gave me a phone number of this girl. And I called her, and I was so nervous. And so many things can be confusing, like the word yep. In English means yes. In Russian, it means to be intimate. I'm not making this up. And so I'm saying to her, would you like to go on a date with me? And she said, yep. I'm going, what a country, all right. And then she said, on a date, why don't you bring some California wine, Philadelphia cream cheese, and New York cheesecake? By the time I got back from those places, she was already married. I'm sure by now you understand why this was happening. You see, when you change cultures, you become like a child. You had to learn to read, speak, customs, tradition. I'm sure if you were to go to Russia, you would experience the same culture shock. Would you agree? Yeah. You would have to, you become like a helpless child, except when you're an adult and you mess up, you need a lot bigger diaper. And I messed up a lot. But I also learned a lot. I learned some things I could not ever learn as a child, because when we're children, we're limited to a certain amount of learning. We're limited to learn how to walk and talk and feed ourselves. But we don't know yet how to reason. And by age 7, we already have 90% of beliefs that we inherit from our parents and the society that will run our life for the rest of our life before we can even reason. Can you imagine 7 years old? I mean,